Hello, America. I'm just reading over the transcript of Anthony Wiener. He said it was a hugely regrettable mistake. Yeah, I'd say that. He said the underpants photo was a joke. I'm sure your wife is laughing. There's also some other photos that he took of himself, which Anthony, have you looked at yourself? I mean, you're really not. I mean, nobody really wants to see you with less. It's like me. I don't take any pictures of me with less clothes on. It's not. Shouldn't we question as a country? Shouldn't we question the man's judgment just based on that? He thinks he's hot. He apparently is not going to. He's not going to resign because what he did was just an indiscretion, and he only did it. Boy, does this sound like it's right out of the Bill Clinton playbook? He only lied because he was embarrassed, and it was only a lie about his personal life. Oh yeah. That's right. So as many as 6 women, and apparently there's more photos coming out. Oh, and the day for me not to be blind yet. Here he is saying that he's not going to resign. May I ask, is there no shame in America anymore? I mean, do you remember the guy, what was the name, Tiffany? What was the name of the guy who took the picture of himself like this, who just resigned? Chris Lee. Do you have the picture of Chris Lee? Yeah. Hi. That guy was out before we got to dinner that day. He's like, okay, I'm an idiot. Wiener? No, apparently not. Do you know who who Anthony Wiener makes me have more respect for? Bring him on. That guy. Remember him? Remember the guy who was like, well, we used to have tickle fights when we were in the Navy. I just like to go actively hug men. That guy at least had the common decency when he knew the jig was up. He was like, okay, got me. I resign. Today, I have more respect for this man than Anthony Wiener. It is, may I show you where we've put the bar? Okay, right about here. This is where the bar is, right about here. Yeah, okay, all the way down. Thank you, Harry. All right, here, see, that's where the bar is. About 400 feet beneath my hand is where the bar currently is in our country. This guy's one of the most arrogant men I have seen. You know when the doctor always says, hey, finish your antibiotics. Why do they tell you to do that? Because if you don't, this is what the doctor never told us, and now we're figuring this out with the superbugs that are doing. If you don't finish your antibiotics, it only makes the bugs stronger, and then you've got some like Herculean virus that's running around killing everything, and nothing stops it. I'm just saying, if this doesn't stop this guy, if people don't cry out for this guy to be, I don't know, packing grocery bags or whatever it is his skill was, maybe being a photographer. If he doesn't go into photography and leave Washington right now, if this doesn't kick him out of office, nothing will. You know who you're looking at? You're looking at the replacement for Charlie Rangel. If this guy doesn't leave office now, he'll never leave office. And oh my, imagine the monster this is creating. Good luck with that one, New York. Who wants to move to Texas with me? Come on. Now, hello, America. Yeah. Whew. That was the guy, by the way, Anthony Wiener, who last year was holding congressional hearings calling me unethical. Oh. How are you? Because I'm great. The world makes no sense whatsoever. Last week, let's pick up the storyline last week when I was talking to you about the upcoming border protests along the Israeli borders. Now, I've got to tell you something. Everybody's been so right with me being wrong on everything, every step of the way. Let's go to the videotape here. I said they were going to illegally flood the border walls and the fences. Here's what I said, and then we're going to play a little tape from NBC on what actually happened this weekend. What their strategy will be. They will flood the borders. Here comes NBC.
Tried to break through the border today between Syria and the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights.
Who would have seen that coming besides me? And then I said Israel would be provoked into taking action, shooting people. Okay, let's see what happened. They will force Israel to defend itself and provoke them to act out. Yeah, okay.
Israel ended up firing across the border, killing at least 14 people.
Oh, how does he do it? He's like a magician on TV. He says it's going to happen, and then it happens. I also said that they would take all kinds of pictures and exploit the deaths of all those. As many pictures as they can of the injured, and the world will react. No. Oh, are those pictures? Oh no. Isn't this weird? Somebody should ask, how does this guy know? Maybe I'm planning it. Or I'm just listening to people. I'm just listening to them. I take them at their word. That could be it. No, you know what we should do? We should pay more attention to Anthony Wiener. Pay no attention to that guy. No, that guy in the box, he's dead. What's Anthony Wiener doing? Does he have any other sexy shots? Syria now claims that 25 people were killed, 350 people wounded, and remember I said last week they're going to send women and children across the border to be killed. Guess who are among the dead? According to Syria, a woman and a child. Yeah. The UN, I'm glad they're involved. They're trying to confirm the facts surrounding the incident. Oh, I wonder who they're going to find at fault. Syria or Israel? No word on if the UN is looking into this little report that the Assad regime, the one that has all the rioters in the streets, that regime is paying protesters now $1,000 to flood the Israeli border. $1,000 in Syria is a lot. It's like more than $1,000. Syria wants the world and the UN to pay attention to these staged events because they're busy gunning down protesters in the streets in Syria. That's Syria. Those are people from Syria that aren't flooding the borders. They're trying to kill the government, and so the government just... Up to 70 have been killed after Syrian government forces opened fire on a crowd of 50,000 protesters. Hang on just a second. 70 have been killed. Okay, this is the Israeli-Syrian border where 25 were dead, sent over by the Syrians. So the mean, evil Israelis have killed 25, but the kind, gentle, loving, sweet, pie-making Syrians have only gunned down 70 themselves. Oh, and they got tanks and stuff in the streets. But don't worry, China does that. And we're all going to be like China soon. They're just trying to attempt to quell the protesters there. Meanwhile, President Obama is telling Americans that we need to side with the governments like Syria because all they want is peace and change. Oh, I'm hoping for it. I have a feeling we're going to get it. As they march their people off to death, isn't it great? We're hoping for change. Yesterday was significant in the Middle East because it's not Naksa Day. I love Naksa Day. Did you decorate your Naksa tree? Neither did I. Naksa, not to be confused with Nakba. Naksa means setback. Nakba means catastrophe. Okay? This is kind of important because they have been celebrating Nakba Day, which looks a little like that kind of celebration. Tear gas, the usual run-of-the-mill 4th of July stuff without the hot dogs. So Nakba Day is the day of the great catastrophe, which is the day that Israel was founded. Naxa is where they came up with the borders after 1967, okay? So that was a setback. Setback, that would imply that there's a bigger goal in mind. Gee, I wonder if it could be, let's think out of the box. Destroy Israel and kill all the Jews? Do you think? Maybe that could be it? No. All the intellectuals, especially those that are good friends with this administration, like Rashid Khalidi, oh, he's back in the news again. He's such a good guy. Okay, sure, he's pro-Palestinian and pro-Palestinian terrorist sympathizer, sure, and a college professor at Columbia University, but who isn't these days? He's also thought to have ties to the PLO, but why check? Last year, he began raising funds for a Gaza-bound boat called the Audacity of Hope. The Audacity of Hope, the Audacity of Hope. Here's Rashid Khalidi. He's going to put together the U.S. boat to Gaza, the Audacity of Hope. Where have I heard that name before? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's a book by this guy's good friend, Barack Obama. And this was named not after the boat. The boat's named after this. This was named after a sermon given by this guy who also hates the Jews. Isn't it all great? We're screwed if you don't wake up, America. The Audacity of Hope. Now, this guy again, he's raised enough cash to let this ship sail with the Freedom Flotilla 2 coming later this month. Oh, freedom's going to be good. Now, Khalidi is a good friend of this guy, okay? And he was there when he launched his campaign at this guy's house. This is Bill Ayers, Weather Underground terrorist. He's married to this lady. And this lady, Bernadine Doran, also a terrorist. You see where we're going here? They're organizing a flotilla too. Oh, they all must have so much to talk about. You know what I mean? They got so much stuff in common. Not him, though. He's on Israel's side. It's just all the people around him. That's it. So anyway, they apparently are so close. They're friends. And they reportedly attended the same celebration of Khalidi that this guy spoke at and praised him. Of course, we don't know. We don't have videotape. Okay, I don't have it. The LA Times has the videotape, but they're not going to release that videotape. No, I don't think it's relevant right now. They have videotape of the event, but they're not going to release it. Why? I mean, unless you're trying to protect Obama because he's saying really good things about this guy in the same room with these people, you know, then you might not want to release it because it would hurt the president. How journalistic of you, LA Times. Seriously. Let me tell you something. One of my assistants, who I just hired right out of Columbia University, he interned for me for 2 years. And he had a class with this guy at Columbia. He said it was fantastic. In the first lecture, he said this: there is this notion, you know, that the Middle East is a region deprived of democracy and freedom. Well, that's simply not true. You are so right. I was talking to this woman as she was driving down the street. Oh, wait, no, she wasn't driving down the street. Anyway, it's a crazy notion. Where have I heard that before? He also stated, every place on earth is in support of the Palestinians except the United States and Israel, yet all of them together don't matter compared to the United States and Israel because the U.S. and Israel can do anything they want because of their status as a superpower. Oh, you are so smart. Who's got a big egghead? You do. A lot of our universities are pushing bigotry, and that's what this is. This is anti-Israeli bigotry, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic. It is anti-American bigotry. And this administration embraces that kind of thinking, I think. Have you noticed that, or is it just me? Last week, I talked about the proposed circumcision ban in San Francisco. Now, proponents claim this bill is just about health care. They're protecting the little innocent babies. That's what they're doing right here, circumcising. I know. I don't know about Anthony Wiener, but I still remember when I was 8 days old. I might have been 3 days old. I didn't know. I couldn't read a calendar yet, and I'm still... Sometimes I wake up in horror thinking, ah! No, that really didn't... I don't think it bothered me at all. I might have cried a little while, but I cried a lot when in fact, I still cry a lot, but that's a different story. What I said last week about the ban of circumcision that is being... It show's out of control already, isn't it? The ban on circumcision in San Francisco. Here's what I said last week. It is amazing to me how you can go back in history and see the same pattern happening over and over and over again. 175 BC and now today in San Francisco. I believe it has nothing to do with health. It has everything to do with anti-Semitism. And it is evil. No, it's not. No, it's not. I have to tell you, I was wrong about that. It is all about health, as the guys who, wrote the bill and are pushing the bill will tell you. Now, in a completely unrelated, the guy who wrote the bill, Matthew Hess, he also is writing comic books. And I just want you to know, it's all about health. It really is. It's about health. He just released this comic book, and I'm not kidding you. It is called Foreskin Man. This is being handed out in California. There are also Foreskin Man trading cards that say, nothing excites the monster moil more than cutting into the penile flesh of an 8-day-old infant boy. Who is Monster Moil? Let me show you. Kevin, can you get a shot? Can you get a shot here? I want to show you this. This is an amazing little story, and we can take a lot of tight shots on it. Fox thought it was a little, and it is. It's a little disturbing. So here it is. This woman has a boyfriend who's got a big boat and stuff. Blue-eyed, blonde-haired Aryan here, and she says, "Oh, I have to tell you, my sister was going to have her son circumcised because she married a Jewish man, but they've decided not to. I talked him out of it." And he said, "Hey, are they still having some sort of a bris ceremony? Because I'd like to go with you." And she's like, "Oh, that would be so great." Ding dong. Here they are. They're coming together at the little party. And he says, "Did I miss anything?" And she says, "No, but look how hot I look." There they are, and the father of the little boy says, Mom says, "Well, we were going to have him circumcised, but I talked him out of it." And the father says, "You didn't think you really talked me out of it." Is the Jewish guy becoming evil? Find out in the next exciting episode. Oh, we don't have to wait for it, because pound, 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 smashing the doors open, and look at this. Here is the evil moil, the rabbi, with the two, rabbi bodyguards or whatever they are, smashing down the door, coming in. They're ripping the baby from the mother's arms. Can you bring this full screen? Can you take the picture of the rabbi? Do you have that full screen? Pull the picture of the Rabbi Moyle. Look at this. There's a synagogue I want to go to, So he says, we're going to finish the job here. He holds up the Torah and he says, if I can get this, I want to make sure I get this right. Praise be thou our God, King of the universe, who hath commanded me to circumcise this child in thy name. Time to make your sacrifice to God. And then he goes after the baby. Here they are holding down the baby to try to, and he's got the long black fingernails and everything else. The guy is totally, this is Nazi propaganda. Mom then is beat on the head. Foreskin Man takes the baby because the rabbi, even if you kill him, the Jewish father says, "We'll get him circumcised. You'll never stop us, Foreskin Man." And that's why Foreskin Man takes the child into his arms, takes him to the beach. Of course, it's California. Got to go to the beach. Go to the beach where there are intactivists underground. And they say, "Glick will be safe with us, Foreskin Man. We'll raise him as one of our own." So they take this Jewish child into their own. They steal him from the family. And then here's what they do. "We're having a bonfire. Would you like to join us?" Tell me this isn't anti-Semitic. This reflects a Jewish menorah. They're setting it on. This would be akin to a cross burning, wouldn't it? But I want to show you this, and if you can, this is the last page. If you can, this is before they set it on fire. Take the close-up shot, please, of what is in those pictures of what makes this menorah up. Doesn't that look like people? So is that referencing the Holocaust too? By the way, this again was written by the guy who wrote the anti-circumcision bill in California. How's that? Now, he says, a lot of people have said that this is anti-Semitic, but we're not trying to be anti-Semitic. We're trying to be pro-human rights. Well, I don't care if you're trying to or not. You are. The circumcision vote in California is actually picking up steam. Got more than 7,100 votes just to get it on the ballot, and a similar proposal is making gains in Santa Monica now. And the end goal for them is, quote, making cutting boys' foreskin a federal crime. We must not allow this hate to fester and grow. We must not bury our heads in the sand. We must call evil by its name, and we must start being people of virtue. When we see Anthony Wiener, we must demand that he resign. You must be able to trust people, and you must be able to spot the difference between good and evil. Back in just a second. If you'd like to see that full comic, you really need to see it. It is truly shocking. You can see it at glennbeck.com now. There are three things that we're trying to be separated from: God, capitalism, and each other. And they all kind of, right now, I think, center around Jerusalem and Israel. Israel is surrounded by hatred and violence. And we know that President Obama now wants to return to the 67 lines, which makes Israel incapable of defending itself. And that's what Israel wants, the ability to defend itself. Danny Danon is the Deputy Speaker of the Knesset. He joins me from Jerusalem now. He has been one of the most outspoken people trying to say, please stop what you're doing to the president. Danny, welcome to the program.
Good evening, Glenn, from Jerusalem.
Can you tell me, sir, first of all, you saw the anti-Semitism that is happening here with this this cartoon. Is that not exactly what we saw in the 1930s against Jews?
It is disturbing. It's sick, you know. I think the guy who wrote it should be sent to mental support. But it's only a beginning. I think we are facing a new wave of anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, anti-Israel, you name it. But it's all coming against Israel from different directions. And when people here in the Middle East see such stuff coming from the U.S., imagine what will happen tomorrow in Turkey, in Egypt, in our neighborhood.
What, you know, this weekend, I said that they were going to send people across the border, and this is just the beginning, Danny. They are going to send people across the border, and they are going to force Israel to shoot people as they cut through those fences. And that's exactly what they did this weekend. Do you stand by that, or what other option do you have as a country?
Well, absolutely. What we saw the recent days, the Syrian president is trying to divert the public attention from what's happening today in Syria to Israel. Only today, Glenn, 120 people were massacred by Syrian policemen in Syria. So we're seeing them sending those youngsters to the border with Israel, and we will have to defend our borders. Every sovereign country will have to do it, and if they will try to do it again and again, we will be standing on the fence and protecting our people. That's what the American army will do, and that's what the Israeli army will do if we will have to face it again.
Danny, the president has said that he wants the 67 borders. Most people in America don't really even understand that this is a play for the West. Why is Israel important to America?
I'm very worried by the U.S. President motion about the 67 line. Glenn, when you come in the summer to Israel, I will invite you to my house. I live exactly in the middle of Israel. It's 4 miles from Judea and Samaria. If God forbid there will be a Palestinian state on the hills of Judea and Samaria, my family life will be in danger, and the majority of Israelis will be in danger. And I think the American people, unlike the American president, they know that we are the closest ally of the American people. We share the same values. We are a real strong democracy. And I can tell you that the Israelis today are confused. Because in one hand, we saw the American troops hunting down Osama bin Laden, and it was great. It was a great move, and we salute you. But on the other hand, the American president is trying to pressure us to sit down with Hamas, which is exactly like Al-Qaeda. So you cannot, in one hand, send the troops to hunt down Al-Qaeda, and on the other hand, tell to the Israelis, tell us, you should create a Palestinian state that will be controlled by Al-Qaeda and Hamas.
What can the American people do?
I think they have to speak up. They have to stand and speak up. They cannot be quiet. Because some people in Israel think, well, we have to listen to the American president. Otherwise, we will not get the support. We will not get the umbrella of the U.S. in the UN in the coming vote in September. And I know it's not the case.
Yeah, may I just tell you, because I know that a lot of people watch us over in Israel, and Danny, that is absolutely, well, look, you can play any game you want with the President of the United States, but you're playing a losing hand with the President of the United States, as people in our own labor unions will figure out eventually, or the average person. You can't compromise with the President of the United States, and you must speak out. You've got to speak out. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in the dustbin of history. And the difference between the 1940s, if I may be so bold, and now is you have a state. You have a place that can defend itself. You have an army. You have a place where others can find refuge. If you don't have Israel, the Jews have no place to go and no way to officially defend themselves.
Glenn, we know that we can count only on ourselves. But when we see the threat coming from Iran, Iran is not a threat only to the Israelis. It's not a threat only to the Jewish people. It is a threat for the American people. And the American president is ignoring the real threat of Iran, and he's trying to impose his wishful peace plan on us. And we will stand and we will tell the American president, no, we can't. We cannot fulfill your wishful peace plan. It will not be easy, but we cannot allow to make mistakes. If the American people will make a mistake, they can correct it. If we will make a mistake, we have nowhere to go, and it will be irreversible.
All right. Thank you, sir. We'll talk again. I appreciate it. If you'd like to help in Israel and find out how you can help, go to glennbeck.com/Israel. Coming up next, a gentleman who does not agree with me on very much at all. He agrees with me on this, and he has decided to take a stand. I think he is an extraordinarily courageous man for coming on this program and doing what he's about to do. Don't miss it. It's next. I can't tell you, I just can't get my arms around that whole Anthony Wiener story, and he's not resigning. Congratulations, America. We have another winner, or Wiener in this case. Yesterday, I was walking from church to my office. Usually I don't work on the Sabbath, but I had work I had to complete yesterday. And so I was walking from church, and I went to my office, and I came around the corner, and I forgot that there was a pro-Israel parade that was happening. And I should have known. I walked right into this crowd yesterday. I should have known something was going on when I saw these dump trucks, and I couldn't figure them out. This is a picture that I took. These dump trucks were full of sand. They had the cherry picker for some unknown reason, and there were police everywhere on every single street. There were like choke points and almost checkpoints, so people could come in and support Israel. Then there was also the anti-Israel propaganda. The protests were anti-Zionist. They were ultra-Orthodox Jews who oppose Israel existence and Palestinian supporters. And it's great. Now, I'm putting together the Restoring Courage event. And I've told you before, just like I told the press before 8/28, that 8/24, this event in Jerusalem, is not a political event. This is an event to teach us to stand up for what we believe in, stand for what is right, ensure people's safety, to protect, be a shield for Jewish people, for Israel, and also for Jerusalem. Someone I reached out to right away is a man that I don't always agree with, but I have tremendous respect for him. I don't know if he would say that we were, buddies or anything, but he has played a role in my life for quite some time. He actually helped me get into Yale University. I know Yale is angry probably about that, for his help on that, but he has always been a man that deserved our respect, but we haven't talked much over the years since then. I reached out to him right away when this idea came to me, because I knew that we needed to have people on both sides of the aisle. I would like to announce that he'll be coming with us and hopefully you'll be leading a delegation from the U.S. over to Israel and Jerusalem. Joining me now, Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman. Hello, Senator. How are you, sir?
Glenn, I'm good. I'm glad to be with you, and I'd write that reference letter to Yale again if you want to go back to divinity school.
What do you have against Yale? Why? All right.
To explain to your viewers, I met Glenn when he was doing a morning radio show in New Haven, Connecticut, quite a long time ago, and we just got to be friends, and I was impressed with him, and I must say, though you're right, we haven't agreed a lot of the time. I've been really proud of your remarkable rise over the years since then.
Well, thank you, sir. I called you, and you said, yes, you would be there, and you said mainly because, if I may quote you, mainly because of what you saw me do in Washington on 8/28, that it was not a political event. And that you knew you could trust that this event would be something dignified and good.
Absolutely right. Look, first, I think the idea of the Restoring Courage gathering in Jerusalem is an important idea and a very constructive one at a very important time for Israel, and a time that also could be potentially destructive for Israel and for us, for the United States of America. And I know you want it to be nonpartisan, non-denominational. It's not against anybody or any group. It's to stand with Israel at a time when a lot of the rest of the world is attempting to delegitimize Israel. And for me, the confidence that I have in thanking you for this idea and telling you that, God willing and the Senate schedule willing, I'm going to be with you in Jerusalem in August, is what you did here in Washington last August. A lot of people said it was going to be partisan, it was going to be political, it was going to be divisive. It was a magnificently unifying day that was all about American values and, frankly, about the faith in God that most Americans share. So it's with that confidence and a little encouragement by some clergy, both Christian and Jewish, that I respect, who are going to be there, are already part of this, that I'm happy to come on today and say I'm going to stand with you in standing for Israel.
So, Senator, you're going to get a lot of heat for this. You know that, and I know that. I don't want it to be partisan, and I know that there could be a lot of people on the conservative end, and that's why we tried to announce you first. But we've had a lot of people that are on the left side who immediately hung up the phone and want nothing to do with anything. What is it, Senator, that you could possibly say that will bring others who disagree with me, but we can agree on Israel?
Yeah, well, you know, this touches a larger nerve and a larger problem in America today, and particularly in American politics, where if you don't agree about 100% with somebody else on all the issues, then even when you do agree with that person, you refuse to stand with them or work with them. That's part of the problem here in Congress, which explains why we don't get a lot done. And to me, this is about a shared value. It's about the values that we share as Americans with Israel. It's about the fact that we have common enemies. In some sense, Israel is the first line of defense for the United States of America. I can tell you, as the chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security, that a lot of the same threats that Israel faces are faced increasingly by us here at home. And so I say to everybody, okay, you don't who is skeptical and who's going to be critical about me, okay, you don't agree with Glenn Beck on climate change or Medicare or whatever, or President Obama, but if you agree with him on this, then why would you not be true to your own conscience and stand with him? And the cause here, if I may say so, is larger than Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck had this idea. This is a good idea, a very, very powerful idea. But if you agree with it, and if you think it's time to stand with Israel, then let's just unite around that. And, you know, I saw this happen a couple of weeks ago when Prime Minister Netanyahu addressed the joint session of Congress, and the feeling in the room was so unified. You could go from the most left Democrat to the most right Republican. Everybody was standing up and cheering, not just for the Prime Minister, but for Israel and for the U.S.-Israel relationship. And in doing so, I think members of Congress were reflecting the beliefs of the people of the United States of America. So let's not let others divide us. Let's come together when we agree, and this is an important time to do that.
Senator, thank you very much. We'll see you.
Thank you, Glenn.
You bet.
God bless.
God bless you. We'll see you in Israel on 8/24. Back in a minute. So Anthony Wiener did send them. Man, I wouldn't have seen that one coming. Here we are now heading into the summer. 24% of our country's teens are unemployed. China, it was announced this weekend, dropped 97% of its holdings in U.S. Treasury bills. But don't worry about that. It's only 97%. Way back in 2009, China held $210 billion in our government short-term Treasury bills. Now it's just $5.7 billion. But go back to sleep. Housing prices are down. Sales are down. Gas and food prices sky high. Did you see them burning the food in Europe? Isn't that weird? And unemployment is back to 9.1. Oh, another thing. We told you about 2 years ago that this would happen in Greece. It's happening now. 50,000 people protested yesterday in Athens objecting to new austerity demands, signs saying thieves, hustlers, bankers, and from Tahrir Square to Syntagma Square, we support you. It's almost like it started in the Middle East and swept up. This is the largest turnout in a series of 12 days of solidarity rallies, which started in Spain, which I think we told you that would happen too on this program when they were calling me names. Weird. Well, if you would have listened, you probably would be prepared now. Is anyone telling you to be prepared? The mutually assured economic destruction is coming our way. I think it's happening now, because it's happening now in Europe. The world in Europe, don't be fooled by this, will look for other places to put their money besides Europe, and they'll put it into the U.S. first. Don't be fooled. The Treasury, all of a sudden, all this money will flow into the Treasury. That's happening because there's no long-term thinking out there, and they're just looking for a safe harbor. But we'll be the next domino. We'll be the next domino. And what is the president saying about all of these things? What's his take on all of this? Oh, big picture thinking in Toledo from the president next. The press on the right is eagerly talking this weekend about the awkward Wrangler joke that the president made at a Chrysler plant in Toledo last week. He made an analogy about the bumps along the way to the recovery being the path, that even a Jeep Wrangler couldn't get through, and he got some objections. And here's what happened.
There are always going to be bumps on the road to recovery. We're going to pass through some rough terrain that even a Wrangler would have a hard time with. We know that.
This is not awkward for the president. They weren't saying no because that's outrageous that you would compare the economy to... No. This was because of the Wrangler can handle anything. This is company pride. No one is focusing, however, on what he said before the stupid joke, and that is the bumps in the road. The policies that he can't blame Bush on, like the highest gas price we've had. There it is. That's some of the highest in history. Mr. President, you stopped drilling for oil in the Gulf while you opened it up to Brazil. You pushed for cap and trade. Mr. President, you wanted to make, energy prices necessarily skyrocket. You said those words yourself. That's one of the things he blamed. That's a bump in the road. Headwind we're facing. Energy prices, gas prices. The next one he blamed was Instability in the Middle East. Excuse me? That's your policy. You're encouraging the uprisings like this. You said the guy who set himself on fire was Rosa Parks. Don't talk to me about instability being a bad thing. And he didn't even mention the skyrocketing cost of food. You know about the E. coli breakout in Europe, right? Yeah. Here they are, they're just dumping food. What do you think that's going to do to the price of food over in Europe? It's interesting, the throwing the food away, which you now have to do. But is that something that maybe somebody should say, hey, food prices will necessarily skyrocket? I'm just saying. Good news is, I didn't play you the clip where he was blaming Bush. He did, but he's not really pointing the finger where it should be pointed, at himself, his administration, for causing some of these, quote, headwinds. Anthony Wiener does decide to leave office in shame. He can always be the second half to Eliot Spitzer. Spitzer and Wiener. They'd have so much to talk about. Only in America could that actually be a possibility. Only in America. From New York, good night, America.